There's a complex mix of vehicles on the road today. Cars, trucks, buses, motorcycles, pedestrians, and more than ever, bicycles. The characteristics of the new bicycle, its lighter weight and gear selection, make it much easier to pedal, and therefore a realistic choice for serious transportation. People ride bicycles for lots of reasons.
I have to ride because I don't have a car now. But even if I had a car, I would do this, just the same. I enjoy it thoroughly. I think it's very good for you.
I guess I don't like to take my car on a short trip like this because it's not good for the engine. And I can do it about as fast on my bike as I can in a car. So it's a practical way for me to get down here and catch a train every day.
I like to ride bikes because it just makes you feel so free, and it's really great exercise for you, and you can just get out and go and explore. It's really neat.
I love the feel of the wind at times, fast runs downhill. It's a real thrill to be able to accomplish the things that you didn't think you could when you first started.
I usually ride the bus to school, but I'm a cheerleader, and after school we have practice. And the bus is usually gone by then, so I ride my bike. It's the best way to get home.
I like to go bicycle riding because it's a really fun recreation. It's something that we can do as a family because we have 2 older children and 1 younger child. It really does make it hard to find something we can do together that would be enjoyable for the whole family.
I enjoy bicycling in the morning because it wakes me up, but by the time I get to work I'm alert. And at the end of the day I find that it gets rid of my frustrations by pedaling very hard on the way home.
These people, like motorists, have a legitimate need for the road. And like most road users, they are reasonable people who are simply trying to get somewhere, safely and conveniently.
I ride to work every morning, and some of the spots are pretty narrow on the road, and I really need my part of the road the same as anybody else does.
Someday there may be separate facilities for bicycles, but for now we're confronted with the reality of a mixed traffic system. A system in which vehicles of vastly different sizes and characteristics are sharing the same roadway. People are confused, not quite sure what to expect.
There are a lot of times when I'm not really sure about the rules of the road. That happens whether I'm riding my bicycle or driving my car. Like when I'm riding my bicycle and I want to make a left-hand turn, I'm not sure if I should move towards the center of the road or stay over towards the curb.
I'm a new driver. I just learned how to drive. And it seems to me there's a lot of confusion about which side of the road bicycles should ride on.
Sometimes when you're riding your bike, people accidentally run you off the road. They don't mean to, but they just don't see you.
I think the majority of the people watch out for bike riders. I know I do, because I'm a little bit leery of them. You never know where they're going to go straight or maybe turn out in front of you.
It will take cooperation to cope with the bike-car traffic mix. Most cyclists and drivers are reasonable. They're willing to share the road. But they need a new set of driving and riding skills. There are a lot of people who still have to get where they're going. Some in cars, some on bikes. And there's only one road.
There really are a lot more bikes on the road today. As a matter of fact, Over the last 3 years, 1 out of every 4 people in this country bought a new bicycle. And more of them are getting into the traffic flow without any real training. It's beginning to show in the accident statistics in a way that's somewhat surprising. The fastest growing accident group involves the young adult rider, not school children. Now, for this serious adult rider, there are at least 5 critical problem areas: obstacles to the flow, left turns, visibility, both seeing and being seen, right turns, and rules of the road. Let's start with the flow. Take a look at some of these obstacles to the flow from a motorist's point of view. Probably the most obvious is the great difference in speed between bicycles and cars. A motorist should leave himself an out in a situation like this and choose a gap in oncoming traffic to pass. A bike rider does need a reasonable corridor along the edge of the road that he can count on, but he doesn't need as much leeway as an overcautious driver allows. Motorists often hold back because they're afraid that any bike is an obstacle to the flow. Bikes seem to swerve without reason.
There's usually a good reason. Could be broken glass, or a pothole, or wet leaves, loose gravel, a grate, or even an old muffler. You'd be surprised how many hazardous obstacles there are alongside the road that the bicyclist has to be concerned with. And it's a close-up obstacle, the one right in front of its wheel, that the bicyclist really has to look out for. These are the things that could cause him to have a puncture or throw him out of control. Things that many times the motorist probably doesn't ever see. The most drastic roadside obstacle for the bicyclist. Are you okay? Yeah, sorry. Is the open car door hazard. You need to practice before you have to make a panic stop. Most people overestimate their ability to stop fast on a bike. You have to get your weight way back. You have to be sure to hit both brakes at the same time. If you just hit the front brake, or if you're leaning too far forward, you go head over heels.
By far the most dangerous obstacle to the flow is the wrong-way bike. It causes more accidents than anything else. A cyclist is not a pedestrian. He belongs on the right-hand side of the road, moving with the flow rather than against it. And there are some good logical reasons for this. First, a motorist does not expect oncoming traffic on the right-hand side of the road. Second, he has almost no time to react to an emergency. And third, if a wrong-way bike and car do collide, they hit head-on. A research group in California, through interviews with pairs of accident victims, motorists and cyclists who hit each other, turned up a rather unexpected finding. There is a significant number of accidents in which at least one party remembers having seen the other prior to the collision, without having recognized the potential danger. We're going to take a look at some of these cases. Among other things, you will notice that the people involved were simply not tuned in to critical situations in what seemed to be normal traffic.
I work at my father's antique shop, and I've been working there just about every day for a year. I ride my bike almost every day that the weather permits. I was going down the right side of the road, and I was threading in and out of the parked cars, and I had to keep my distance between the cars coming by also.
You know, it happens so fast, it's kind of hard to remember. I was on my way to a job. I'm a photographer, advertising photographer, and it's a nice day, traveling maybe 25 or 30 miles an hour, and I guess I kind of had my mind on the job that I was going to.
I needed to make a left-hand turn, and I heard a car, so I looked back real quick. I don't like to look back too long because if I do, I tend to swerve out into traffic, and I'm afraid of being hit. So I looked back, really quick and saw the car and let it go by. I didn't hear another car and I didn't see another car. It just turned and hit me.
You know, I've never had anything like this happen to me before in my life. I've been driving this road for a number of years. I have just passed some bicyclists, and I saw her, but just didn't dawn on me. She saw the car in front of me. I saw her turn around and look, and I just assumed that she had seen me too. It just happened so fast. I got out and I ran around, and there she was, just lying on the ground. I don't know how else to explain it. It was just a total surprise to me.
As you've seen, making left turns in normal traffic can be dangerous. It's serious business. There are a lot of different ideas about how to make left turns. Here's what I recommend. First, I turn my head and listen to the traffic behind me. Then I take a quick look over my shoulder, make a clear left turn signal, keep steady one-arm control so that I don't swerve in traffic, which might be caused by looking over my shoulder. And if everything's okay, I change lanes, just as I would in a car. Next, I concentrate on what's right in front of me. I wait for a gap to open up in the cars. Then with a clear turn signal, I make my turn through the intersection so that I end up on the right-hand side of the road, traveling the direction I want to go. Safe left turns aren't that hard to make. It takes practice and you gain confidence. But there are some traffic conditions where I simply wouldn't try it. 4 lanes, full of 40-mile-an-hour traffic. Common sense tells me it's better to go up to the corner and cross with a light or choose an alternate route.
A left turn in which a bicycle makes a lane change at mid-block and then signals and turns through the intersection just like a car will take a new level of cooperation from both the motorist and the cyclist. The bike rider is going to have to be consistent about making his turns that way, and the driver is going to have to give him a chance. Let's take a look at left turns from a motorist point of view. A lot of accidents are caused by a car making a left turn into the path of an oncoming bicycle.
I was driving home from work one day. Getting towards nighttime, the sun was just setting. Conditions on the road were fairly usual. There was nothing excessive as far as traffic was concerned. I'm a gardener and I was pretty tired that day. Had a long day's work. Anxious to get home and eat dinner and go to bed. I had considered myself to be a conscious driver up until this time.
I'm a frequent bike rider. I ride for both recreation and for transportation. In fact, on this particular day, I had just ridden home from work. I work at a hospital laboratory. It was a beautiful day, and I decided that although I had just ridden a couple miles, that I'd go back out and enjoy the sunshine some more. And I guess sometimes in these situations, I know I do, and maybe others do, lose their sense of vulnerability. I entered the intersection, very familiar intersection. The light was green. It turned yellow as I entered. I remember being slightly concerned about the cross traffic, keeping my eye on them. Did notice that there was a car intending to turn left, but this I had noticed many times before.
I was making a left-hand turn onto State Street. About 3/4 of the way into my turn when, just out of nowhere, I saw this flash of spokes appear. And the next thing I knew, I'd hit a bicyclist. She was laying on the ground there in front of me. I got out of my truck. I just didn't know what to do. I just didn't see her.
I hurt my leg very badly and will not know for a year whether I'll have full use of it again. But if I do, and when I'm riding again, there's one thing that I think I've learned from this is that in certain critical situations, like an intersection, you can never assume that you've been seen by a motorist.
Have you ever run a brand new stop sign on a familiar corner that never had a stop sign before? You weren't looking for it, so you didn't see it. Now that's a lot like the problem of seeing bicycles. Visibility is a major safety factor in the bike-car traffic mix. Now the principle involved with this stop sign example is called a perceptual set. Simply stated, it means that you're most likely to see what you expect to see. For our purposes, it means expecting to see bicycles in critical traffic situations like these. This time, scan the whole traffic scene from sidewalk to sidewalk, rather than concentrating on what seems to be the critical spot. Even after you get in the habit of looking for bicycles, they're still hard to see. An oncoming bike is an extremely narrow object. It moves very little in relation to its background, even though a lightweight 10-speed may be coming quite fast. There are some things a cyclist can do to make himself more visible, and it's his responsibility to go out of his way to be seen. A brightly colored flag and bright clothing help. The flag presents a constantly moving image against his background. And of course, the most obvious need is for lights and reflectors at night. There's another aspect of the visibility problem. A motorist has a blind spot over his shoulder in a right turn situation. This is often a factor in right turn accidents.
I consider myself a good driver. I have never had an accident. You can't see a bike rider over your right shoulder. There's a blind spot back there. I think that's what the whole problem was. This was just a normal, everyday, same kind of a day. I was on my way home. It was about 5 o'clock in the afternoon, and I decided I would stop at the pizza parlor to get a pizza. I remember seeing the bike rider back there. We both stopped